Hello, I'm going to do a little video showing the effect of ALC with FT8. And this time I'm going to use an actual oscilloscope to see the analog RF waveform that's being transmitted. So what prompted this was there was this video on YouTube that just came out. Actually, I shouldn't say just came out. It looks like it's about a year old. I just found it though. FT8 ham radio. How to Reduce Your ALC, The Secret to a Powerful Signal, it's titled, by Aussie Ham Radio, Radio Waves, VK2HTV. And the claim was that driving the ALC, or the audio into ALC for FT8 creates distortion. Well, he's using the internal audioscope on the 7300 here to show the representation of driving the ALC and distortion. My claim was that's not correct because that's just a software digital representation displayed on the screen. That's not an actual demodulated, measured analog waveform of the transmit carrier. So I thought I'll just come down here real quick, and I don't have a 7300, but I have an SDR radio, the FTDX101MP, which uses the SDR for both receive and for transmit, and for generating the modulation. So I thought I would just come down here and fire it up and see what happens. So currently I have it set to where on FT8 I'm sitting at minus 20 dBm audio level. I'm going to hit tune and I'm going to transmit. You can see I also have a little oscilloscope digital representation. But here on my oscilloscope, by the way, I'm using a modified K antenna with a RF tap I built into it once for sampling. That is a nice, clean sine wave. And what I'll do here is I'll stop transmitting for a second, and I'll transmit again, and I'll bring up the audio level to the point where I see ALC on the radio start to come up. Let's see, I'm at minus 10 dB. There we go. Here's some ALC. We'll just bring it to where the ALC just triggers right there. Okay, and that's at minus 10.2 dB. Let me transmit again. So minus 10. There we go. So we can still see the sine wave on the digital representation on the radio shows clean, but you'll also see it's very, very clean on my oscilloscope. That is a nice clean sine wave. Now we're just gonna run it all the way up here. We'll see what happens here on my, you can see my ALC is pegged out and it's also running compression. I got it nailed out here on the FT8 program. But if we go back here to the sine wave, it's still clean. So all we're doing though, if I was able to show the oscilloscope at the same time as what happens when I run the audio into compression or into ALC, it's just compressing. The input versus output is not changing. It starts to run into compression. And on this particular radio, ALC, when it first starts to hit to full scale, that's 5 dB of audio compression. It does not create distortion or flat topping as indicated by VK2HTV's video. Now, you might say, well, that's on tune. That's a single tone. What happens when you actually send FT8? Well, FT8 is a 8-layer of 6.25 hertz digital modulation. So it creates a 50 hertz bandwidth with tones separated, 8 individual tones separated at 6.25 hertz. So we'll just put here and we'll send CQ, enable transmit. We'll have to wait for the cycle to come around here. There we go. So wait for my cycle to come around here in a few seconds. And when this transmits, I'll show you what it looks like when Okay, now I'm transmitting. You can see the shifting of the tones here on the audio scope. And we'll take a look at the analog waveform. Now that's with minimal ALC. Now I'll run it up. Now I gotta wait for the 15-second cycle to come around again here. And as soon as it does, we'll take a look at what it looks like with full ALC. Okay, transmitting. You see my ALC maxed out. You see the audio scope, see the shifting tones. Now we'll take a look at the oscilloscope. That is a clean waveform. Let's look at a few more. That is a clean waveform. Let's we'll do one more cycle here. Let it come around. So it appears the ALC really doesn't have any effect, at least on the FTDX101. Okay, we're transmitting. ALC maxed out. Let's go back over here to the waveform. That is not a flat topping waveform. So, contrary to the belief or the misconception shown here on the 7300, ALC may not, indeed, in fact, your transmit cleanliness or IMD when it comes to FT8.